Hey guys, I hope you all are doing good. So, in the last couple of days, I have had a number of messages as well as phone calls with respect to the syllabus for history of architecture fourth sem not being clear. So, obviously, you know that the first unit that we did was the from the Roman to the Byzantine and the early Christian period, and then plus Romanesque, which is from about the 3rd century BC or 4th century BC to about the 11th century AD. Analogically, the second unit deals with Indian architecture for the same time period, right? Which is about 4th century BC to around 10th or 11th century AD, because after that, Indo-Saracenic as well as the Islamic style of architecture started in India, and that is a totally different category of architectural style. So, I had initially thought of doing some online classes, but I've realized that most of you, at least half of you, are not attending the class. And the notes that we have sent, not considering the PPTs, the ones that we have been uploading, the issue with those is that they have a limit for the resolution or the size of the file that you can upload at a time, which is why we have to crunch the data, and as a result, the quality is not as good and it really confuses you. So yeah, that's why I decided to make a video as well as giving you some notes as to how we are going to proceed through the second unit. Okay. So I'll just continue with the. Actually, there's a couple of things. I'll just let you know what the syllabus is as well as how I'm going to proceed through these lectures or the notes that I've been giving you. Now, one thing to understand is before I start with the lecture, I am expecting that you have your laptops with you for the time being. If you don't, I recommend that you get 2 phones or tablets or whatever you have, because I'll be I'll be talking through the video as well as showing you stuff. So even if the quality of the video is not as good, you can just open the file in another computer or phone, and then just it's easy to compare the notes with the video. So the first thing that comes to my mind is I'll just start off from where we left off in the last lecture, which was on 6th of May, I think. Yeah. So the syllabus, if you look at the syllabus, firstly the file, the folder that I have forwarded to you, you may see that there's about 7 or 8 files in this, right? And what I'll be doing is I'll just discuss, and then I'll show you which file I'm looking at, and then you can cross-refer for further reference. Now, the notes that I have made, a lot of it has been taken just from the internet sources, and the reason I've done it is because if you look at the syllabus, the recommended books, a lot of the books, there's about 4 recommended books, out of which 3 are of no use as far as the second unit is concerned. But what I mean is Indian architecture, because even if the book is, I'm using the recommended book, the book essentially talks about Indian architecture from a point of view that is at least 100 years old, as well as it is not as much a study into the architecture that the author discovered, but it is more like an historical account of his travels through India. So he didn't delve as much into the nitty-gritties of each style or each place that he visited, what was special about the place, or if there was anything peculiar that he should have emphasized. Okay? So rather than becoming a treatise or a very well explained notion, it's very much like a Indiana Jones adventure movie, right? Which I can understand is very confusing for someone like you who hasn't read through this before. So I'll just start off with the the folder. It's called HOA for 6th May, right? So that's the first one I'm starting. I'll just be discussing the same thing that I did in the last class. So I'm just looking at a copy of the syllabus here, which is, if you look at the first line, basically says study of world architecture from the early stage of Roman period besides the early era of Indian architecture and Buddhist architecture. Now, my understanding is that you have already read about Buddhist architecture in the previous semester, as well as if you look at this syllabus, nowhere does it mention Buddhist architecture. When you look at the details over here, it doesn't mention Buddhist architecture at all. Now the issue with that is, since you have done it in the last semester, the syllabus is designed in a way that this semester has to be a exact continuation of what was done previously, right? So if the Buddhist architecture, which mainly consisted of stupas and chaityas and viharas, after over a period of time, which converted to the temple architecture that we will be discussing in this semester, right? But this doesn't deal with at least one topic that I think should have been there. I don't know why. Maybe it's not as important. I mean, whoever made the syllabus didn't think of it as being as important as the other topics. But to me personally, it is a bit of nonsense. But I'll just see. I had an idea of how to make you go through the syllabus, right? So we look at the second unit. The first is Chalukyan and Ashokan period of Hindu architecture. Second is Dravina architecture, and the third is Indo-Aryan architecture with 3 subcategories: Orissa, Gujarat, and Khajuraho. And then their expectation is that for each subtopic, you give just 1 or 2 buildings which are best representative of that particular topic, and you understand what was happening during that era by a certain kingdom, by a certain architectural style. And it becomes relevant in that sense. But in reality, just as you may have witnessed for the first unit, even Byzantine and Romanesque or Christian architecture, there is such a variety of buildings that was constructed in in a total of about 14 centuries. So it's a bit unfair to just say that 1 or 2 buildings is going to be enough to make you understand, or just to give you an overview of what happened over such a long period of time. So I'll just start off with the first one, which is Chalukyan and the Ashokan period of Hindu architecture. Now, Ashoka was a Mauryan emperor from around the 3rd or 4th century BC, right? He was the biggest proponent of Buddhism from Afghanistan to Indonesia, China, as well as Buddhism in Japan. So one thing is very clear, that Ashoka was not interested in the Hindu style of architecture at all. So unit first point is wrong. Okay, we'll come to Chalukya later. But the Ashoka period of Hindu architecture does not exist. There was no such thing as Ashoka being a proponent of a Hindu design. He was much more interested in spreading the word of Gautam Buddha and his successors, which is evident from the way he commissioned stupas and universities during his time. And also after so this is just a photograph of what Sanchi Stupa looks like today. It's just a cross section. It is mostly made of brick. Andar kuch nahi hai, but it contains some of the relics of maybe Gautam Buddha, his ashes, or some other remnants which are sacred to Buddhist monks, and they used to come here and worship or pay their respects, whatever the rituals may be. And if you look at this is just a very simple example of what a stupa looks like. What Sanchi Stupa looks like. So it is just a semicircular mound, with 2 levels of circumambulation, which is 2 walkways. Circumambulation is there are 2 walkways along the edge, going totally around the edge, in a circular fashion, and the entrance of this is called the Torna. These are 4 in size along the cardinal directions. So 4 gateways called as Torna. ठीक? At the top is like a small railing which is called Harmika, and at the center is an umbrella like structure called a Chhatri or Chhatra. ठीक? I think probably the first known example of brick architecture as far as ancient India is concerned. There must have been more, but all we can see is remnants of it. This is probably the best preserved structures in the last 25 centuries, I think. Yeah. So the fencing is of stone, and the main structure is made of brick. Now a lot of historians have said that the buildings which are made before this were made of wood, but as far as I have studied, I couldn't find anything in particular that I could attribute to wooden architecture. But let's say for the sake of argument, this is how it is, right? So the structural features, I think, just look at the PDF and you will understand what I'm talking about. Very basic information, factual information hai. No matter what exam you have, if you just write these two, this one page and the basic section and the elevation, I think you should be good enough. And this is Lomas Rishi Cave. So Ashoka has built this cave for a rishi who was part of an atheist sect called the Ajivikas. So the rishi or the saint or the monk, if you want to say, is called Lomas or Lomas, and this is around in the Barabar hills, somewhere in Bihar. Now if you look at it, it is very similar to what Chaitya should look like, except for there is no mound inside. There is no stupa inside the Chaitya, but it is more like a hermitage or a cave for the rishi. So just if you look at it, here's the entrance. The entrance is relatively grand with respect to the surroundings or what was the expectation of a monk. But since this was a gift, I think he wanted it to be very specific and give him some good conditions. So you enter from over here, reaching a hall which is like a square, and from the hall there is another passageway going into a circular smaller hall, which was the place where the rishi could meditate. So this is the entrance, the cross section. From here you reach this hall. It is about 32 to 36 feet in length and about 19 feet wide. And from here you reach this circular place where the rishi used to meditate, again around 19 feet in dia. Now you can just, if you go through this, you'll be able to understand some of the basic history of what was happening over there. Now again, this is a cave made for a monk who is not a religious person, he is an atheist. So again, you cannot consider this as a Hindu architecture, but chalo, for the sake of argument, I'm just saying ki let's get through this one small topic. And you will understand कि इसमें basic क्या लगेगा. Just go through it once, you will understand. So if you look at the basic progression, it goes from a stupa to a chaitya to a vihar. So stupa is just a semicircular space जहाँ से the monks could move around in a circular path, pay their respects. Now this is in Sanchi. This is the biggest stupa. In reality, there are about 2 or 3 more stupas in this complex. Plus there is a Buddhist temple as well, which is probably the earliest known example of a temple in India. I mean rock temple with the flat roof and proper structural. इससे पहले जितने थे, most of them were rock cut या something like that. So the monks have started doing the rituals around. Over time they started living somewhere around this place or wherever the stupas were made. I think there were around 12 at least stupas throughout the Ashokan Empire. This is probably the only most the famous one. There are other like one in Kushinagar and the rest of them are mostly gone. So as the monks started habitating around this place, this stupa, the function changed, which changed into a chaitya. which is basically a stupa inside a large hall, a pillared hall, and the space around the mound is for people who want to worship or do their practices. Which again, with the spread of Buddhism in the next couple of centuries, it became even more mainstream. And then there was the need for a chaitya, a vihara. A vihara is a Sanskrit word which basically means some place where you can stroll, right? So if this is a vihara, the chaitya is inside, and the mound or the stupa is inside the chaitya, right? So all of this is the vihara includes living spaces for the monks as well as people, or especially kings who wanted to pay their homages or patronage to these places, as well as Buddhist monks and other people who wanted to visit the place for their worship and etc. So this is the place where they used to go in the later period of the Buddhist style. Now at the same time, if you realize, again I'm coming back to the syllabus which says Chalukyan and Ashokan period of Hindu architecture. Now what was happening was Ashoka died around 3rd century, 4th century. Uske baad there was about 5 centuries during which there was a lot of wars throughout Indian subcontinent. I mean, except for the southern part of India, the exact जिसको हम present day Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Karnataka. You leave those 3 or 4 states. उसके अलावा पूरे Indian subcontinent में as long as from Central Asia to about Myanmar, there was a dispute going on for 5 centuries. So there was no architectural development in those 5 centuries, right? उसके बाद Gupta period comes in. So Gupta is the most famous one is Chandragupta, ठीक? And this is actually the first time in medieval Indian history where you see a very big change in art, a lot of money being put for arts and architecture, literature. So all of the famous, the ancient famous writers, including Aryabhat, Varamihir, Brihat, and I think Kalidas and Tulsidas, they all came in the same period, which is the Gupta period, around 3rd century AD to about 550 AD, which is about 250 to 300 if I'm correct. Okay? But this syllabus is not mentioning any of it, as well as इसको break ऐसे किया है कि you won't find a lot of mention of it in the videos that I'll be covering for some stupid reason. I don't know why, but so if you look at this, ये पूरा area, this came under Gupta है. 3 centuries, lot of work being done, nothing being mentioned in the books as well. These are some of the prime examples. Bhitargaon temple, this is the earliest example of a style of architecture that became the norm in most of northern as well as the eastern part of India. ठीक? Similarly, this temple, and then Nalanda University, and then Elephanta Caves, very interesting structure as well. And these were the predecessors to every architecture that came after this period, as well as a lot of the theoretical aspect of how a temple should be made was also made in this period. So you may have heard of the book maybe Brihad Samhita. So it is a treatise on architecture. The other book is Mayamatam or Mayamata, I mean whatever pronunciation you want to choose. I read through those books and it gives a very detailed account of how a temple should be made, but unfortunately it hasn't been made part of your curriculum or syllabus for the time being, because I mean I am interested in talking about it, but I don't want you to fail for my adventurism. Okay, so let's just get through this. So now we have established that there is some disregard as far as the Gupta period of architecture is concerned, which is followed by the Chalukya period of Hindu architecture. Now there is, if you look at the syllabus again, what they have done is they divided ki Indian architecture or Indian Hindu architecture during this period, these from the 3rd century to about the 11th or 12th century, they have said ki it is about in two categories, Dravidian architecture and Indo-Aryan or the Nagara style architecture. But actually what is, I mean even from the books, it is three styles. One is Dravidian, one is Indo-Aryan or the Nagar style, and the third is Visara style, which was the Chalukyan architecture, right? So even though this is the first topic for the second unit, what I'm going to do is I want to go through the different categories of Indian architecture first, and then I'll come back to Chalukyan and then Indo-Aryan and the Dravidian style. ठीक? So if you come back to this, I've given you some other some study material as far as what a stupa is and the Ashokan pillars and Lomas Rishi. Take these three topics. This is the basic information which you need to do no matter what question is. क्योंकि I've seen कि कुछ previous questions या previous years में they have given this question, so I just want to go through this once. So stupa is you can easily see the definition वगैरह, you can read it, and then there are a couple of different types of stupa, and if you are still interested in reading about it, I have put a link over here. You just look at the link, or it will give you a much detailed explanation of how a stupa is to be perceived, right? But as far as we are concerned, Sanchi stupa common hai. This is the, I think, easiest possible way to make a sketch of it. This again from the last one. और ये एक 3D वाला है. Rather than making these two in your exam, it is much easier to make this, और इससे you can explain, right? So ये तो same photo I have used, and this is only, I mean this is as much as you need to know about what a stupa is. ठीक? The second is Ashokan pillars. Now this also is one question that has been mentioned a number of times. So इतना कुछ डिटेल में नहीं है because it is not as much of an architectural element as a sculptural element. So what happened was, all the earlier periods, every ruler or every kingdom had a logo or a symbol, or a seal designed for their representation. ठीक? जिसके बेस पे they used to do trade. So same thing, barter system है या you are using currency, you need to have a symbol. So Ashoka में symbol था ये, there is 4 lions or 1 lion followed by a capital. Now there are a number of Ashoka pillars, Ashokan time के pillars. इसको Google करोगे, you will be able to see around 4 or 5 different types of pillars. This one is important because this one has been